Thank you. Thanks, Priyanka. Thanks, Mihir Bhai, Chirag Bhai, Anand ji, Prachi, Jainam, as well as Raj Khona for this wonderful opportunity given to me to share my views on success and failure in CA exam. Since the time I joined, I was trying to conserve my energy because I'm not feeling well. I have a 102 fever. So I thought to conserve my energy so that during the session at least I'm able to speak. I hope you are able to hear. So let's get started. I must mention that this is a really amazing initiative by BCS as well as HRD committee, because see, these are the times, that is the exam times, when people typically get a bit disillusioned. They feel a bit stressed and then they feel whether I'll be able to crack the exam or not. So I think this is a very right or apt time for such kind of session. So let's get started. The first slide I think is वो एग्जाम के पहले ये सब समझना जरूरी है क्या. ये क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है, आई रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू नहीं मत बोल देना, बिकॉज अगर ये बोल दिया तो मुझे बोलना पड़ेगा ठीक है भाई अब मैं चलता हूँ करके, यहीं पर अपना सेशन था करके. आई होप यू विल से नो, वी वांट टू हियर अबाउट सक्सेस एंड फेलियर. एज rightly shared by Mihir Bhai, Chirag Bhai, that see, all of us, when today we are chartered accountant, and in the eyes of student, we might be seen as a person who has achieved a stage in his career or achieved something in his professional life. But let me share with you, all of us were exactly like you as you are today. In 1999 till 2005, when I became a chartered accountant, I was not having all the answers. I was making ample number of possible mistakes. All the time, I was feeling stuck as well. I was feeling confused. So today, if you are feeling any of these things, let me share with you, everybody goes through this phase. So this is not something which is a bug. Rather, I would say this is rather a feature. If you are not having answers, if you are making mistakes, if you are feeling stuck, if you are feeling confused, I must mention that you are on a right track. Because most of the time we feel that these are the bugs, but I have discovered, and all of the other panelists will also share the same perspective, that we have discovered that this is rather a feature in our career. The more and more we feel that we are feeling stuck, that means there is some inner energy which is trying to push us forward. If you are feeling confused, that means there is some likely answer which is just around the corner. If you are making mistakes, that means at least we are trying. And if you are not having answers, that means you know that there are many things in the world for which you will not be having the right answers at this stage of your career. It will take some time. Even today, I might be having so many issues around me for which I don't have any answer. But still, all of us move forward. And that's what you are also supposed to do. Now, if I ask you, what is the interesting thing in these two options, option A and option B? Option A, traveling abroad, giving lectures like I'm doing today, being known and enjoying the freedom which we have. And option B is studying and acting on the problem. What seems more lucrative? What seems more fascinating? What is the option you would love to choose? And please feel free to give your answers in the chat box as well. So almost most of you would love to go for option A, but please note that option A is not the option that we need to choose. We need to go for always option B. The more and more you study, the more and more you act on the problem, option A automatically opens up. This is not a rather option. The more and more you study, the more and more you act on the problem which you have in front of you. All this, once you do, that is study and acting on the problems, naturally, you will be moving to option A. And that's how the life is. And that's the reason, when given a choice as to what you need to choose, always choose option B. Because the more you choose option B, option A would be a natural corollary. It would be a natural default, I would say, byproduct. And that's the reason you need to always go for option B. And even I have discovered, see, I became chartered accountant in 2005. It has been now 2024. It has been 19 years. And in the 19 years, I have realized that whatever problem you have in your life, whatever, Any kind of problem you have in your life, you only need to do two things. One, study, and second, act on the problem. If you are facing exam, you have to study. If you are working in the office and you are not able to get along with the maybe senior, you are not able to get along with the assignment, you need to act on that problem. These are the only two solutions for almost each and every problem which you are facing in your life. So there is no third solution, I would say. And the more and more you go back to these two options, that is option B, naturally nothing in the world will stop you from becoming or being successful. Everybody mentions that adversity is the biggest opportunity. And this is even what I have realized. At a time when I was failing in the CA exam, that time obviously this is not something I realized. It is only eventually after spending a couple of decades in this profession that I have realized that adversity is the biggest opportunity. I'm not saying, I'm not recommending that you should fail more often, but I am saying that if you fail, you can convert that failure into the biggest opportunity of your life. Because there is nothing bigger, I would say, a support than the failure which you have. Because if you look at even my career path, I have realized that even if I failed, like say I have failed in foundation 2 times, I have failed in inter 3 times, I have failed in final 3 times. Maybe there are a couple of other co-panelists who are rather rankers, who is having like say rank number 1, rank number 2, rank number 3. And I am a person who has rather failed those many number of times. So what I have realized, whenever I have failed, I have realized that I can't change the past. But one thing is for sure, thing is for certain, that I can change the future. Also, we need to understand, we cannot drive forward looking backward. This is something we need to keep in mind. Many a time when we fail, we always believe, we always feel, यार ये तो मैं फेल हो गया, मैंने शायद कोई क्लास लगाना चाहिए था, मैंने शायद थोड़ा ज्यादा स्टडी करना चाहिए था, मैंने आरटीपी सॉल्व करना चाहिए था, हो सकता है मैंने कोई रिवीजन बैच लगाना चाहिए था, हो सकता है मैंने टेस्ट पेपर देने चाहिए था. तो यहाँ पर again and again, if you have failed in the past, that is just a couple of months ago when the result was there, and if you are declared as a failure in that particular exam, you always need to keep in mind that you can't change that exam result, that is the past exam result, but you have the power to change your future exam result. And that's the reason you need to always look forward and not backward. When I look at my own journey, I have realized that way back in May 2004, and I think all of you can see even on the slide, that I failed only in one topic. I must share with all of you that right from my junior KG days till my CA final days, I never ever failed in any topic. I always used to fail in aggregate, because in foundation also I failed in aggregate. In inter also I failed in aggregate. But it was for the first time in my entire career till date that I failed in one particular topic. And that was in May 2004. And you can see, this is my mark sheet, and I have failed in indirect taxes, and I have got only 30 marks. But at the same time, you can see that we have authored on the same topic, that is indirect taxes, more than 15 books. So it is not what failure has done to you. Rather, it is up to you to change that failure into the success which you want in your life. So failure, I rather have always seen that failure is the biggest negative energy. And I am saying it's the energy. Many a time, if you are like say hardened, if you are a follower of astronomy, astrophysics, you will be knowing that there are different forces. There is something known as dark energy. There is something known as dark matter. And I believe failure is that dark energy. It is that dark matter which can push you forward in your life. It's an energy, provided you use that energy for your own benefit. Because when you sit in the lift, when you are walking into the lift, that time you need to press the right button. You know that the lift is having certain energy. You can go upwards and you can go downwards also. So I always say that your failure is like that lift. You can allow that lift to push you upwards, or you can also allow that lift to push you downwards. I have always used these failures, these rejections as an opportunity to see how better I can be, because we need to understand that every single day when you are a student, and today when all of us who are chartered accountant, who are professionals, every single day all of us need to be better. And failure is the biggest reason for you to be better. Many a time I have seen, and particularly when it comes to me, I have seen that when these results were announced, I was devastated, because if I had got just 55 or so marks, I would have cleared the exam. But because of that one particular failure, that is indirect tax paper, I not being able to clear. Today, we are working in the same field. We have a team of 30 people. We have conducted lectures or addressed lectures across 5 countries on the same topic, that is indirect taxes. And that's the reason, friends, it is not what failure does to you, but it is what you do with that failure. That is what going to matter. Even Meher mentioned that failure is an opportunity to be a better next time. Now, I always say that failure is a deferred success. All of us know about deferred assets. So I would say this is nothing but a deferred success. If you allow that failure to sit with you, to tell you where were you wrong, what mistakes you committed, and if you are able to work on those mistakes, believe me that you can emerge as a successful person. Because failure is the only thing in life, rejection is the only thing in life which actually tells you what you are not better at. Because when you pass, when you succeed, that time a person may not be having a clarity as to what he is good at. Because for him, when he is seeing his successful mark sheet, when he has achieved a rank, for him, he has achieved a lot. And that's the reason, if you really ask him, is what you would like to be better at that particular moment of time, he may not be having a right answer. But if you ask a person who has failed, I would share based on my experience, he would be having a crystal clear clarity as to what he can be better at. For example, when I failed in indirect taxes, I was having a crystal clear clarity that I need to be better in indirect taxes. And that's the reason, friend, there is a huge importance. There is an amazing, I would say, importance. There is a critical importance to the failures in your life. Obviously, nobody would love to fail. Everybody rather dreads failure. But let me tell you, friends, it is the most important thing in your life, because failures can make you resilient. It can make you resilient. I have seen in my own life that failure was the reason for me to write 15 books on that particular topic. Failure was the reason for me to choose indirect tax as a career. So whenever you fail at a topic, you should always try to understand what you can be better at. And the time you shift that focus, automatically the possibility that you can be better at that topic emerges. I have always seen that in today's world, because we are always looking at a like button, because today, whatever platform you choose, whether it is YouTube, whether it is Facebook, whether it is LinkedIn, there is only a like button. And I always mention, failure is that dislike button. It is that dislike button which is telling you what you need to do. What you need to do. And that's the reason, friend, you need to understand that if you want to be better, if you want to succeed in life, you need to take failure in your stride. You need to ensure that you become better with that failure rather than allowing that failure to push you behind. Friends, There is one more example which I have. And again, that is an example of failure, I would say. When I was a student, that time I was asked to deliver a lecture for students, and the topic was Jhansi Ki Rani Lakshmi Bai. It was a school topic. I was, I think, in 6th or 7th standard. That time, when I was asked to by the teacher, can you deliver a topic, lecture on this topic? I said, yes, I can. And I prepared well for that topic. But that was my first experience in my life to deliver a lecture on a particular topic. So when I went in front of the crowd, that is more than 200 people, 200 students who were sitting in front of me. That time, suddenly, when I went in front of them, I realized that I'm not able to practically speak about that topic. And that's the reason I forgot my speech. And that was a failure which stayed with me for long. Because I was not able to speak in that particular event, immediately after that, I realized that I am not a good speaker. Because suddenly in front of 200 odd crowd, suddenly in front of 200 students, I was not able to speak. And that's the reason, yes, this is the kid. Yes, Adi, da. Normal, sorry. Yes. Yes. So in front of these 200 students, I was not able to speak. And that failure stayed with me for long. Till the date I became a chartered accountant. And afterwards, I always knew that this is a skill which can take a person, a professional, from one level to another level. It can make you successful as well. You need to become a good speaker. You need to be able to share your views with your colleagues, with your friends, with your clients. And that's the reason I decided that after becoming a chartered accountant, that I will start delivering lectures. This failure was with me. That is that school going kid who was not able to speak in front of 200 odd students. But eventually I was able to overcome that failure, overcome that fear. And from one speech, today, over a period of, I would say 19 years, I have given hundreds or other thousands of lectures. And again, I would say, this is again a live example, how you can convert that first failure of your life into the biggest success of your life. It is up to you. It is not up to anyone else. It is not up to your parents. It is not up to your organization. It is not up to your teachers. It is not up to your seniors. It is not up to your office, organization. It is always up to you. You need to convert that problem, that challenge, that failure, that rejection into the biggest success of your life. And this is always the God sent opportunity. We always talk about God sent opportunity. And I always say, God sent failures are the God sent opportunity. Because God never sends opportunities. He is always sending in front of you certain failures. For example, sometime in your life, when you are working on particular client, you are not able to deliver to that client. That time, if you are able to think through where I was wrong, what mistakes did I do, how can I be better next time? The time you change your focus from the problem, from that failure, to what you need to do, automatically you start to become better. Again, with respect to exam, I can share with all of you that when I used to fail in the exams, always, as I mentioned, I used to fail in aggregates and all. That time, when I used to fail in exam, I always used to tell myself, because we always fight our internal battles. And in my mind, I always used to tell myself, my own self, that if I'm thinking about the past, that is, what should I have done better in the previous exam? Because I failed in that particular, say, topic, or I failed in aggregate. What should I have done? Then I always used to tell myself that I'm thinking like a failure. Because winners always think what they should do, and losers always think what they should have done. This is the most important thing which you need to keep in mind. Winners always think what they should do, and losers always think what they should have done. The time you are thinking as to what you should have done, you are thinking like a loser. And that's the reason, if you have failed in the previous attempt, always think like a winner. Always think what you should do, rather what you should have done. The time you change your focus on what you need to do today, at this very moment, that very moment will change your result to a positive result from a negative result. And that is the most important thing which you need to keep in mind. Second important thing, when it comes to exam, everybody has his own methodology, I would say. Somebody will complete a particular topic. For example, my friends used to complete 2 topics at a time. Once they finish with those 2 topics or 2 subjects, then they will move on to others. For example, account and costing, they will do. Then they will move to DT and IDT. This is one methodology. Second methodology can be that one day you are studying one group. That is what I used to follow. I used to study in one single day, one group. In the morning, if I'm doing account, in the afternoon, I used to do audit for 3 hours. Then in the evening, I used to do FM. And maybe late in the evening, I used to do company law. That is how I used to spread my day. That every single day, I was choosing one group and I was covering all the subjects in that one group on that particular day. So today, if I'm doing first group, then tomorrow it would be second group. Again, first group, again, second group. And every single day, 3-4 hours dedicated to that particular subject. Now, friends, it is but natural for all of you to get worried. When you will be studying for group 1, you will be naturally worried for group 2. When you are studying for accounts, you will be naturally worried for income tax. So this is not, again, I would say, a bug. It's again a feature. And how I used to tackle that? I always used to say that if I am studying accounts today, right now, I will only think about accounts. If I have some question in my mind regarding income tax, there is some confusion which is there in my mind regarding income tax, then I always used to write that down on the last page of the notebook. Why? So that whenever I am reading income tax, that time I will touch upon that particular problem. So I always used to ensure that whatever topic is in front of me, I will give full attention to that particular subject, to that particular topic. It is but natural for all of you to get worried about other subjects, other topics, other groups. But always keep in mind that you need to focus on what's in front of you at that particular moment of time. The time you start doing that, naturally, you will be able to give undivided attention to that topic. And the time you give undivided attention to that particular topic, it is but natural for you to understand that topic in a deep possible manner. And the time you do that, it is but natural for you to understand that topic, and automatically the time you do that, if you understand the topic well, it is but natural for you to even score an exemption or amazing mark in that particular topic. One more trick which I used to do, I always used to ensure that there is one pager revision which I used to have for almost every single subject. If I am talking about indirect taxes, if I am talking about income tax, then I used to prepare one single pager revision wherein I used to write critical sections, critical provisions which were handwritten by me. And whenever I'm eating, whenever I'm having a cup of tea, I used to make it a point to go through those one pager revision so that I'm able to remember those critical provisions, those critical things. Because it is but natural for all of us to forget. Because we are trying to pack so many things at the same point of time. Because in CA final exam, every topic is a vast topic, and plus you are handling multiple topics plus two groups. And that's the reason you need to have your own methodology to ensure that you don't forget. And one page of revision can help you a lot in that particular context. Additionally, I have seen in my personal experience that whenever I used to fail in a particular topic, for example, indirect tax, or whenever I used to get less marks in a particular topic, for example, I will show to you. You can see this MICS, Management Information Control and System, 43 marks. So this topic, whenever I used to read, this topic used to bore me. This was the most boring topic of my life. So what I used to tell my own self, that if this topic is boring me, if this topic is challenging me, then I will read this topic to the extent that this topic or this subject will get bored from me. I always used to take it as a challenge, that if I am reading something, I will not allow that topic to take over my mind or to bore me. If I am a human being, if that book cannot change, but if I can, then it is for me to read that book so much, to remember that book so much, to remember that topic subject so much, that naturally I'll be able to overcome that fear of getting bored. And this is what one kind of a trick which you need to keep in mind, that if some topic is boring you, if some subject is boring you, you need to study that topic or subject so much that topic or subject should get bored from you. Additionally, friends, it happens that when you appear for exam, when you are appearing for exam, when you are preparing for exam, there is always some worry, some fear which you have. And when you are having that fear, when you are having that worry, all the time I have seen people become anxious. And the time you become anxious, I always say, or I always used to tell myself, that instead of becoming anxious, I need to become conscious. Because anxiety, worry is not going to help me pass the exam. But my actions, my studies will. And that's the reason in my mind, I always used to tell myself that if there is a fire in front of me, I will always use water to douse the fire. I will not use petrol. करेक्ट? अगर आग लगा है आपके सामने और आपको आग बुझानी है, तो आप पानी डालेंगे कि पेट्रोल? पानी डालना है. तो वैसे ही अगर आपको एंग्जाइटी हो रहा है कि मैंने पढ़ाई नहीं किया आज, मैंने स्टडी नहीं किया आज, मैंने 1-2 घंटा सोशल मीडिया पे वेस्ट कर दिया, मैंने ज्यादा सो लिया, आज मैंने मूवी देख लिया, बराबर है, जो भी रहेगा XYZ रीजन, तो उस टाइम पे आपको जब एंग्जाइटी आ जाता है तो आप और ज्यादा टाइम वेस्ट करते हो. तो इसके लिए इस टाइम पे मैं खुद को बताता था कि अगर आग लगी है तो मुझे पानी डालना है. यानी अगर मुझे एंग्जाइटी हो रही है कि मैं पढ़ाई नहीं कर रहा हूं, तो मुझे और ज्यादा पढ़ाई करनी है. यानी स्टडी इज वाटर, एंड इफ आई डोंट स्टडी, it is as good as pouring fuel into that fire. And this is again one thing which I used to keep in my mind. And these are the small triggers which you need to have in your own mind, because the more and more these kind of triggers are there, no, the more and more you will be on track when you are studying for your exam. And the more and more you are on track, it is but natural for you to successfully clear the exam. Many a times it happens that you want to understand something and you try to go through numerous books. Many a times it can happen to you that you want to overcome certain challenges in your life, but you are struggling to overcome those challenges, and that's the reason you are trying to find books. But friends, in my life, I have seen, particularly in many instances of my life, that advice comes in statement, not in books. One single statement of someone can change your life. One single statement of a faculty, of a senior, of a guide, of a mentor can actually change your life. You don't have to go through the books. You don't have to go through passages. It is that one single statement which can help you overcome that particular problem. And that's the reason, keep that principle in mind, that if you come across some good statement which you know has touched you deeply, keep those statements handy for you. Keep those statements in your notebooks so that you can refer them again and again. Friends, we need to understand, and right now I am a 42-year-old person. So I have realized that life is not a 100-meter race, but rather a 100-year marathon, which all of us are running. So when it comes to result, we need to be patient enough. But at the same time, we need to be impatient with the effort. Most of the time, we feel confused. Should I be patient or should I be impatient? I always tell even our own team members that you need to be patient with result and you need to be impatient with the efforts which you are putting in. Always try to put as much effort as possible, but at the same time, leave results to the examiner, because it is not you who is going to check your own exam or answer sheet. It is the examiner. What you can do is basically write those papers with the best of the capability which you have. And the time you focus on giving exam with the best of possibilities, with best of your preparation, naturally you can be rest assured that you are going to get best of the results as well. Some of you might say, sir, I have given an attempt, but I failed. मैंने पूरा 100% लगा दिया था. तो यहाँ पर let me share with you. ये ऐसा मुझे भी लगता था. This is not something which is unique to you. Even I used to feel कि यार मैंने तो पूरा तैयारी कर लिया, जितना पॉसिबल है रीड कर लिया, बिकॉज मैं तो सुबह 7-7:30 बजे से लेकर रात के 2-2 बजे तक पढ़ता था. तो मुझे लगता था यार मैंने तो पूरा जितना भी पढ़ाई करना है कर दिया, फिर भी मैं फेल हो गया. तो दैट टाइम आई ऑलवेज यूज्ड टू टेल माय ओन सेल्फ कि ठीक है, एक बार फेलियर अगर मैंने देखा, एक बार बैड लक रहेगा, हो सकता है एक बार बैड लक है. अगर मैं यही प्रिपरेशन या उससे ज्यादा प्रिपरेशन सेकंड टाइम करूंगा, तो ये कैसे पॉसिबल है कि मैं अगेन फेल हो जाऊं? बिकॉज जो एग्जामिनर है वो मेरा दुश्मन तो है नहीं. ही इज नॉट इवन नोइंग हु आई एम. बराबर है. तो एक बार बैड लक हो सकता है, मल्टीपल टाइम थोड़ी होगा. तो इसके लिए अगर कभी आपको लगता है कि मैंने यार तैयारी तो पूरा किया बट आई वॉज नॉट एबल टू क्लियर द एग्जाम, आई वुड से focus on now the next exam rather than telling your own self कि no, I have done whatever I could last time. Always tell your own self, what can I do better this time? If I was not able to clear, maybe my conceptual understanding was not better. Maybe I was not writing enough, because many a time people read a lot but they don't practice writing. Many a time people don't give test papers enough. Many a time people read a lot but they don't have conceptual clarity. So always try to introspect. Always try to ask your own self, what could have gone wrong? But please keep in mind that this introspection should not continue continuously for, like say, full day. Introspect for a couple of minutes, 10-15 minutes, write it down and start working on those problems which you know you have committed in the last attempt. Always try to be as genuine with your own self as much as possible. Be extremely harsh when it comes to introspection. If you know that you could have done better, if you know that you were active on social media even just a day before the exam, then you know this time you need to avoid all that. I always tell my team member as well that instead of Facebook, face the book, and instead of LinkedIn, link with it. The more and more you follow this principle, particularly during exam time, I would say Nothing can stop you from clearing the exam with flying colors. So if you want, you can write this statement down that instead of Facebook, face the book, and instead of LinkedIn, link within. This we already discussed that it's a God sent opportunity. I always was extremely clear, even as a student, I always was clear that I need to guard my time. But in today's days, in today's era, I have seen many students, and particularly students from Mumbai, they specifically mention in their bio as well that they are trader, F&O trader, investor, share market expert and all. All of you would be surprised to know, friends, even today, as I speak, I don't have a demat account as well. I don't have a demat account as well. But does that mean that I'm any less successful as compared to any other person? Or does that mean that I'm not earning enough? I would say no. I was always clear as to where I am investing time. And I was least worried as to where I am investing money. Because for me, if you invest your time well, money is the byproduct. Today, whatever dreams I had seen as a student, and I think most of the students might also be having certain dreams as to owning a luxury car, having a big house, having a big office. By God's grace and by choosing to invest time in the right things, by God's grace, we were able to achieve the same. And that's the reason, friend, I always mention that you need to guard your time more wisely, more focus, with more focus, rather than guarding your money. You need to guard your time. In today's generation, we have seen even there are so many addictions which most of the students might also be having, be it drinks, be it hookah, be it cigarette, be it so many other distractions or addictions. I must mention that when you are a student, before you become chartered accountant, try to stay away from all these things. Because the more and more you try to stay away from all these things, the more and more possibilities there that you will be able to clear the exams. There might be a few students, I don't know. There might be few students who are able to balance both the things, that they might be able to drink also still clear the exam. But at least as far as I am concerned, I was extremely clear. Even today, I don't drink. I was extremely clear that I won't allow my mind to be controlled by an external substance. I was extremely clear. I was always guarding my brain or mind as well. And that's the reason I have always tried to keep it myself at least away from all these things. Friends, when it comes to exams, when it comes to our CA final exams, always keep in mind that there is always a scope for improvement. Because whatever is your potential, you might have failed in the last attempt. But if you study well, if you keep your focus, the possibility is that you can be a ranker. You can pass with flying colors. You can get exemption in every single topic. That is possible. And I have seen that. I have seen people who had given multiple attempts, but at the same time, when they were appearing for the exam, they studied hard. They never ever worried about the past failures. They studied hard and ensured that they clear the exam with flying colors. Friends, many times we tell our own self that it is a country which is holding me down. If, like my friends who are in US, if I was in US or UK, things could have been better. Or it might be the state, it might be the city. Maybe I am in Ahmedabad. If I was in Mumbai, I could have become a better professional, a better CA finalist, because Mumbai offers better opportunities. Then I might think that it is society who is holding me down. I might think that it is my family who is holding me down. I might be having lack of money. Unlike my friends who are coming to office in car, I have to take train. So I'm having lack of money, and that is the reason it is holding me down. It is my friends who are holding me down. It is the organization in which I am working. It is holding me down. It is my senior. It is my colleague. It is my team members. It is my clients because they don't support me. It is my looks. I might be having some problem, some white skin, some problem. I may not be good in looks. I might be overweight. And for somebody, the reason that what's holding him down or her down can be gravity. So we always try to come out with some or other thing to put our blame on. But I have realized that if you want to claim success, you need to stop blaming. So to start claiming, you need to stop blaming. The more and more you want to claim success, the more and more you should stop blaming. Stop blaming the state, city, friends, colleagues. Always try to say, what can I do? It is not for others. It is not for the faculty. It is not for the institute. It is not for the examiner, because people nowadays on social media write that, see, examiners are not careful. See, they are failing a person who deserves to be clear the exam. See, he is not checking well. And many a time you have that emotional drag. You always try to put your failure there along with others. Your failure also then you try to push to the examiner. I have always learned that if I want to become better, if I want to grow, because I'm not worried about that examiner becoming better. I'm not worried about that organization becoming better. I'm not worried about that city becoming better, my society becoming better. I am always worried about I becoming better. Because the time you become better, everything around you becomes better. Your friends, your colleagues, your organization, your seniors, your clients, everybody will start looking up to you. And that's the reason, if you want to see yourself as successful, stop blaming, and automatically you'll be able to start claiming your own fair share of success. Friends, everybody in their own life have some or other problem. Somebody might be having money problem. There is some lack, correct? So some or other problem everybody has. But what choice you have is basically how you perceive at those problems. If somebody is starving, if he says that I am doing intermittent fasting, if you are lifting weight, if you tell your own self that I am building muscles, if you are having problems in life, if you tell your own self that I am having opportunity to solve the problems, if you are having work or burden, that means you are having an opportunity to prove your capability. If nobody is able to guide you, nobody is there to guide you, then you can rise to become a guide for others. So in your life, there would be always some or other problem. But what you can do about those problems, that instead of cribbing about the problems, you can perceive those problems from a different perspective. And the time you change your perception about the problem, automatically things will start becoming better. And that is what you need to keep in mind. Always perceive the problem as an opportunity to solve the problem. Today, many a times I have seen, we get a kick from the likes which we get on various social media platforms. But today, friends, when you are a student, that time, don't count the likes. What you need to count is basically marks in the exam. You need to get 40 in topic and 50 in aggregate. That is the bare minimum I'm talking about. Obviously, the rankers are there. They will say that bare minimum exemption should be there. So always focus on not on likes, but the marks. Today, if you want to become better, if you want to succeed in your life, focus on the marks and not on the likes. Friends, I have seen that it is always the worst of times which brings the best out of you. If you really see the time you failed, that time was the time when the best version of yourself was able to come into the picture. The time you were put into the worst of problems, you were able to give the best of your own self. So if you really ask me what I would wish to all of you, I would say that may God give you the worst of problems, the worst of challenges, so that you become the best possible version of your own self. Because unless and until you have the toughest enemy to fight, you won't become better. We have always seen, even in the movies, unless and until you have Thanos of the world, the heroes won't rise. Correct? So always keep in mind that worst problems can bring the best version of you. Friends, always keep in mind a couple of things I will share with you. That Rome was not built in a day, and nobody became a better professional overnight. Nobody was able to clear the exam overnight. Everybody studies hard every single day, every single moment. If you really want to save your year, I always tell my team member that you need to save your month. If you want to save your month, you need to save 1 week. If you want to save your 1 week, you need to save your 1 day. If you want to save your 1 day, you need to save your 1 hour. If you want to save your 1 hour, you need to save your 1 minute. And if you want to save your 1 minute, you need to save that 1 second, which is distracting you, the social media. So the time you save that 1 second, effectively you are able to save the entire year. And that's the reason, friend, always focus on the smallest possible things, smallest possible steps. Because the time you focus on those small things, naturally, accumulation of all these small steps, all these small savings would be giving you the biggest possible success in your life. Friends, all of us know about Archimedes as well as Einstein, as well as Newton. Archimedes was sitting in the water and suddenly he said, or he had Eureka moment. Newton was sitting in the apple park and he was able to understand that why the apple is falling down. So many a time I have seen that all of us can't do away with mobiles even when we are in washrooms. So allow your own self to have some time with your own self without the distraction of mobile. The more and more you have time with your own self, the more and more discoveries you'll be able to do, like these big people did. Now we are almost through with our session. I hope the session was useful to all of you. If there is any question, we can take those questions. If not, we can move to the closure of the session. And let me apologize because I was not feeling well, तो मेरा voice शायद कम ज़्यादा हो सकता है या थोड़ा energy missing हो सकता है. I hope the session was well delivered. Thank you. Yes, if there are any questions, I think those can be put in the chat box or Q&A box. If not, then I think we can move to the next session. The panelists are already there.
If any students has any question, please put in the chat box. Prachi, we can move ahead with the.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of BCS HRD Committee and Students Committee, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to esteemed speaker, CA Pritam sir. You have truly motivated us by giving examples which are actually very relatable. Well, you said that don't use Facebook, but rather face the book. And we cannot drive looking backwards. And it is important that we work hard for the upcoming exams. We are deeply appreciative of the time and efforts you have invested for mentoring all of us. And with this, I would like to end by saying that we will definitely keep in mind that it is okay to fail, but it is also important to restart after that. Thank you so much. We would like to proceed to the panelists.
Hello everyone. I would like Jain to introduce our moderator and the panelist for next session.
Hello, everyone. Very warm evening to one and all present here. First of all, I would like to congratulate everyone as you are all are already a step ahead by being a part of this wonderful session, which is curated for exams and a focus is given from the students' point of view. So today here at BCS Pariksha Pe Charcha, we have a set of great panelists, which will be moderated by also a great person, and he's Mr. Kartik Srinivasan. So talking about Kartik Srinivasan, sir, he is a chartered accountant who's been working with IDFC First Bank in the internal audit department. Uh, Apart from this, he's also a very active member of the BCS, that is the Bombay Chartered Accountant Society, and also he's a part of the HRD committee. Apart from being smart and intelligent, he also has a great skill set, as he is a stage performer, a singer, a dancer, instrumentalist, a theater actor, and also a YouTuber by passion, which makes him the perfect fit for being the moderator for today's event. Now, coming up to the speakers of the panelists. So today we have total 4 speakers with us, all who have achieved great milestones and have made a mark in the history of ICI by scoring wonderful ranks. They truly prove the point that सफलता एक दिन में नहीं मिलती, पर अगर ठान लो तो एक दिन जरूर मिलती है. I think this is the best proverb that sits well with them. So first, I would like to introduce. We have between us CA Akshay Jain. So CA Akshay Jain is a person who has secured a rank at all the 3 levels of examination. That is final, intermediate, and foundation. In fact, he secured the All India rank 1 at CA inter level as well as final level. Currently, he's working with BCG, that is the Boston Consultancy Group, and it is one of the most well-known and reputed organizations in the world. And it's a pleasure to have him on the panelist board today with us. Next up, we have CA Kalpesh Jain. CA Kalpesh Jain also cleared his chartered accountancy in May 2023 with the All India rank 2. He has done his graduation from commerce background. Apart from this, he's currently working in PwC and in the merger and acquisition deal advisory department. He is a great enthusiast when it comes to discussions on topics like geopolitics, finance, and also he's a person who's very humorous and also likes to talk about unconventional social topics. He's also someone who has a great interest in cricket. So we are very pleased to have Kalpesh, Kalpesh Jain, CA Kalpesh Jain with us. Thank you for joining us. And next up we have the talk of the town. Currently, the girls making the headlines of the newspapers. Yes, you all guessed it right. The Parolia sisters. So today, it's a privilege for us to have Shruti and Sanskruti Parolia with us. The sisters, the twin sisters, as I would say, who have, both of them have secured a rank at CA final level. Sanskruti scoring AIR 2 and Shruti acing AIR 8 in the CA final examinations. Also, they have secured a rank at CA inter level. Both of the sisters have secured a rank, that is rank 3 and rank 4. Apart from this, they both have done the schooling from the same school, that is Mary Immaculate Girls High School. And their junior college has been the renowned NM College. They pursued their BCom from HR College of Commerce. And apart from this, their articleship has been from Deloitte and Company, and they did industrial training in from Win Plus Limited. I think when we talk about resumes, both the sisters have the common interest, common educational qualifications, a very similar kind of ranks, and similar level of intellect and intelligence. And also, along with this, they also have a very similar interest apart from studies, that is dancing, listening to music, playing sports, and also they are a big fan of K-drama, which is a very great deal. So with this, I would like to ask CA Kartik sir to please continue this, and over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Jainam, for the introduction. A very good evening to all of you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Great. So after a fantastic session by CA Pritam, let me take this opportunity and welcome you all to our today's panel discussion with our All India CA Final Rankers. Special thanks to all four of you for accepting this invitation and being here to inspire, help, and guide all the aspiring chartered accountants attending this session. Let me highlight, we have students across all the stages here, right from the foundation to the finals. And I'm pretty sure that this session is really going to be very helpful to all the students. So we shall be having a discussion around preparation strategies, creating study plans, referring study materials, and ways to make this journey very interesting. And if time permits, we shall also take up few questions from the participants towards the end of the session. I would request all the participants to post it in the chat box. So hi, Akshay, Kalpesh, Shruti, and Sanskruti. How are you guys doing?
Hi, Kartik. Thank you for having us.
Hi, Kartik. All good.
Hi. Great. Pleasure. So let us begin. Let us begin with today's discussion with a very basic question. I mean, each one of you individually can answer this. A very simple question. Why CA? I mean, what inspired you to take up the chartered accountancy course? Do you come from a CA or from a finance background? So maybe Akshay can start.
Yeah, so I think it's mostly related to the family background, I think. Not my parents are CAs per se, but I come from a family business background, right? And and generally understanding upbringing, or my entire upbringing was around business and business concepts and all of that. And while I was clearing, I took up commerce from like the ninth grade itself, right? Because I was not really interested in sciences, and commerce and economics are what interests me particularly. So post my graduation, it was making a career in finance. There's no other degree that's better than for you to get other than CA.
Great. What about Kalpesh?
Yeah, so when if people ask me this question, I always say that CA was never part of the plan. In fact, I still remember it was 31st of March 2017, the last day for registering for CPT. And on 30th March, I decided let's give CA a shot, because CA was never a part of my future plans, because I was very undecisive about what I want to do. I was like, let's give it. If it works, we'll continue. So fortunately, I ended up clearing CPT, but before that, I took admission from a regular college because I was not very sure whether I'll sail through. Then I continued with my inter along with college. It came to a point where I was not able to manage both. I took a skip in an attempt. Then I cleared my intermediate, and still I was not very decisive whether I should give final, do my articleship or not. But then after 3 years of my college got over, I thought, having done the 50% of the job, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. And from there on, CA really started as a it was a more of a iron role from there rather than the starting. So CA was never part of my plan. It just happened.
Oh, great. Yeah, Sanskrit.
I think in my case, it's a little opposite than what Kalpesh just said. I belong to a family of CA. So my dad is CA, my brother is also CA, my sister-in-law is also a CA. And when I was very young, I would see my dad. And I think when I was very, very young, when I actually did not even understand what, a CA actually does, I think since then I wanted to be a CA. So that is something that is all. And I really like maths and numbers. I think that's what drove me towards CA.
What about Shruti? Is it a ditto answer?
Yeah, it's quite similar, but then Sanskruti was very sure right from when she was very young, when she didn't even know what CA would do. She was very sure she had to do CA. So from my dad, and like she said, my dad, my brother and sister-in-law were the CA. So we had a CA background, and my mom's side were all in medicine, like doctors. So I was confused between medicine and CA. But eventually I realized that I had more interest in numbers and maths rather than medicine. So then that's how I come CA. So I wasn't like Hastra Sanskruti, like right from second, third standard, actually wanted to become a CA. But eventually I realized that I had more interest in maths, and that's how CA became an option.
Oh, great, great. So, getting an AIR, that too in a course like CA, is an absolute masterclass. To be very honest, I mean, somewhere deep within, did you ever feel that this is going to happen after writing the exam? Yeah, Sanskruti or Shruti can take this up.
I personally actually did not. The one thing that my dad always said was, you give your 100% in your examination, in your preparation, and then in your examination. And the thing about a rank or even passing at that involves some factor of luck in there. So you can just give your best, give your 100% out there, so that you do not have any regrets. And then I think leave it for the fate to decide, because rank obviously is very more that factor of luck, and it is relative. It depends on others' preparation over yours. That's something that is difficult to predict. In my case, no, there is no expectation like that.
I think probably getting a rank, because I did not have a rank at any of the previous levels and only ranked at final. So to be honest, there is no experience bias which is there for me, to understand what does it take to become a ranker for me. It was like I just wanted 400 that day. Ended up getting a president's call, was a big leap from there on. So probably no expectations as such, because I still remember, I was calling up my friend and asking, DT ka paper ekdam ऊपर नीचे गया है, can we clear it with 400 or not, or should I give group 2 again or not? And then all of a sudden the tables turned so quickly in the matter of 15, 20 minutes. So pretty much not expected for me to get a rank.
What about Akshay?
So I did have a little bit of a precedent, right, from my intermediate days. Back when I first got the rank in intermediate, that was something that was not really expected, right? But even when it came to finals, I did have a little bit of precedent, but getting a good rank, a lot of it is also dependent on what is your mindset on the day of the exam. How fresh are you? How quickly are you able to recognize what sort of questions are being asked. A lot of it also depends on chance and luck, I would say, right? What sort of questions, what sort of concepts did you prepare very well? What sort of concepts did you skipped on, and those questions thankfully were not asked in the exam. So a lot of it is also dependent on that. I mean, I did expect a rank to come in, but not one, obviously.
Great. So I'm quite sure that the discussions that we'll be having today will be very insightful for the participants listening to us. So as Alexander Graham Bell has rightly said once, before anything else, preparation is the key to success. So now comes the most important question. We can start with Akshay probably. So if you can tell us the preparation strategy that you formulated, how early did you start the preparation? How many leaves did you get?
So do you want me to cover like across 3 levels? But it would vary a lot when you talk about all the 3 levels. Do you want me to just cover finals?
Yeah. I mean, you can cover it in a general aspect so that students across all the stages can relate to.
Yeah, I'll just cover general aspects. Sure.
Yeah.
So let's leave apart finals. For the other 2 levels, if you really want to clear the exams back to back, and not take a substantial gap in between clearing your foundation and intermediate, it's very helpful if you if you start preparing quite early on, like right after your foundation exams would be helpful for intermediate exams, and not really taking a month too long break to start preparing for your intermediate exams, because the time that you would get after that 2 month long break would really not be enough, in my opinion, because there are a lot of new subjects that would be coming in. You will have taxes coming in, you will have costing coming in, you will have a lot of financial management concepts that would be very new to you that would come in. So it would be very helpful if you can spend a lot more time with those concepts, strengthen your grip over them rather than just taking 6-7 months, 5-6 months, whatever, to start preparing for intermediate, because a lot of it is new. Even for foundations, you will there are some concepts that are straight up from your 12th exams, but law is something that is new. Some concepts in accounting that would be new. People who don't take math, they have the entire math paper in foundation that would be new to them. It will be very helpful if you can start preparing as soon as you can, not really taking like 12 months, 13 months to prepare for foundation. But yeah, early on preparations would really help.
Okay. What about Kalpesh?
Yeah, I think he covered for the previous two level. I'll go and talk for finals because something which is very fresh into my memory. So I think there are some thumb rules which I followed. For example, the number one was complete your classes before you get into exam day, because there has to be a clear distinction between you're passively watching classes versus actively reading, because that makes a big difference. And you cannot leverage your time of exam weeks for watching classes. So I think the first thing everyone should focus on, because you get onto articleship and you get on to even have to study for final, it becomes a bit of you need to structure your studies and classes together so that you're able to focus on both, because you would also not take articleship lightly, whereas also you need to track your CA final classes. So the first thing which I ensured was to complete your classes before you step into your exam weeks. Then the minute you step on the exam, you need to have a clear vision or a clear plan in terms of how much revisions you want or how much time you want to read. Because somewhere I felt, given the fact that I had only 4 months, the best case I could make was, one reading plus 2 revisions. So that's around 3 times of total readings, which means that I did a 2-1-1 plan, which is 2 months for first reading, 1 month for the first revision, and the last 1 month for the second revision. Basis that I arrived probably at a weekly planner, to ensure that I did not keep daily targets, because
Right.
somewhere you need to even focus on, because there are variances that happen. Probably you might miss out on some targets on
Absolutely.
a daily basis, but at a weekly level, probably you need to keep your track and to ensure that if you're going to miss a particular day, you're going to end up missing the entire target, probably that. And I think one important thing which everyone needs to keep in mind is, despite there is 120 days, please plan only for 110 days and keep 10 or 5 days as a buffer, because I still remember in April 15th or somewhere around that, I got sick, and 3 of my days did not go. I did not study for the last 15, 16, 17, 3 days I didn't study. And that's where the buffer where I kept actually worked. So that is something you have to keep in mind. And finally, one thing is very important, which I really think helped me boost my game, was giving mock exams. At least I feel everyone should give a preparatory mocks of at least 2 times for all the subject, to ensure this is not just test your concept clarity and all those, to also ensure that how are you performing in this 3 hours. At the end of the day, it is a show business. You might have prepared backstage a lot, but when it comes to 3 hours, how are you playing that game? And it makes a big difference. Right. It helped me write 800 out of 800 marks throughout the CA final. Had it not been for the mocks, I don't think I would have missed probably completing some of the papers. So giving mocks is very important. And finally, have a great sleep, great health, because something that's going to keep pushing you internally. So because people say sleep for 4 hours, 5 hours. I was a person who's even slept 8 hours on the day of exam. So probably that works for me. So there is nothing called sleeping 2 hours will make a do wonder. So please sleep well, eat well.
Great. Yeah, Shruti.
So like I'll start with what Akshay said. Start from the beginning, because that will give you enough time to ensure your revisions. So like that's what Akshay had said. So that I'll reiterate, because that's really important, because the portion is so huge, both at inter and final level, that you will have to ensure that you begin before, so that you have enough time to revise and eventually write a better answer. So that I'll say first. So if you ask me in terms of hours, I'll say for inter, if you have like you should try to ensure 12 to 13 hours. So if, let's say you're having classes of 9 hours, try to ensure self-study of 3 to 4 hours eventually. It may be possible at it. The second instance is consistency. Consistency is not ensuring 13 hours like every day, but ensuring that, let's say if there is an 8 hour, you compensate it for the rest of the week by increasing it eventually. So that's what I'll say is start before and ensure consistency eventually. Now, every day will not be same. There will be ups, there will be downs, but you still have to ensure that you are not entertaining any distractions, and trying to ensure you're consistent over the time. So that will be for an intern. And for final, I'll say eventually in my articleship period, because we had 3 years of articleship, the first year was comparatively more into like understanding, adjusting your articleship, this journey, learning from them. So I think eventually the first year I try to ensure that I'm able to cover at least 2 subjects, the classes of the subjects, along with that the self-study. So I'll say during the first year, I had tried to ensure at least 2 to 3 hours during the weekdays and 6 to 7 hours at least during the weekends. The second year has eventually the exams got nearer, the pace also has to increase. So the second year I tried to ensure that I get at least 2 sessions in, one of 3 hours morning, 7 to 10, and one in the evening. Now, this may not be possible during the very busy audit seasons and during the month end, etc., but you can compensate it for the other times. And weekends, ensuring at least 8 to 10 hours. And eventually, the study leave, which was around 4 months, just like Kalpesh said, that I ensured eventually, like the moment you start your study leave, it may not be possible to put in as many hours because you're not used to it, but eventually you can try to build it up as well. So I'll say try to ensure that you sit at least for 10 to 12 hours on an average during that 4 months period. So that's to add on to that. And like he mentioned, writing practice is necessary, especially for subjects like FR, because it's so lengthy. So it's not difficult, but it's very lengthy. So the more you practice, the more it will ensure that in the actual exam day, you're able to cover more marks. So that, and for DT, I'll say, because DT questions really tend to be tricky. So solving few beforehand will give you an idea of what you can expect, and you'll not be that nervous. You'll be able to stimulate that exam environment, so you'll not be under that much pressure when you're actually writing the paper. The second will be, and third is, I think, ensuring the best preparation from your side, or ensuring more revisions will ensure that you're more confident on the exam day.
Great. Yeah, Sanskruti.
I think adding on to all the points that Akshay, Kalpesh, and Shruti said, I think one thing is again very important is planning. So what I would do in terms of planning was like I would allocate time for each particular, like in case of theory chapters, for each particular page, and for practical for each particular sum I would allocate time, and then that's how I would come up with like the total number of hours for that particular say chapter, and then for that particular subject, and then I would add some time for the test series. I would add some time for RTPs, MTPs, and then I would get the total number of hours. So this was my study leave planning that I had done. So in this manner, I got the total number of hours that I'll need for each particular subject. And then I divided it with the total number of days that I have when I wanted my first revision to get over. And that's how I got my daily targets. Like, okay, I have to get done the work of say like 12 hours. Now that can be done in like 8 hours or maybe 14 hours. But the main target is going to be to getting the thing done which I've allocated in that. I think that is something that imbibes a lot of consistency, and you know your actions. If I'm not doing the work of 12 hours, I know that will have repercussions on the coming week because I'll have to compensate for that. So I think a proper planning also works rather than just starting and with any subject that you want to and going in any random order. It's just plan it out so that because what happens is usually the first subject or the second subject that you take up in study leave, that happens very great because you're allocating a lot of time to them, and the remaining subjects are something that has to be done like in a haphazard manner. So rather than that, it is better like if you allocate it specific time, because each of the subject deserves a specific amount of hours. So I think that will ensure a better planning, will ensure a better execution, and you will know when you're wasting time. Now you will realize this how much repercussions it is going to have, because you know exactly how many hours other subjects require and you do not have a time. So I think that will also instill some discipline.
Correct. So when you talk about planning, so is it like, you used to have a short-term plan and a long-term plan? So long-term plan, by what I mean is, a plan for 3 to 4 months, then breaking it down to 2 months, 15 days, subject-wise. How?
So in my terms, it was like I decided like I'll complete my first revision say in 3 months, for example. And then I did this hours particular theory. So I got the total number of hours that I require for each chapter, and then like going backwards, and then a total number of for each subject. And then I divided total number of hours and the total number of days. And I got that number of hours each target that I have. And then I allocated it the subject wise. So I did it like some subjects that I did in my first year of articleship. I started with those first, and then I went backwards. So I think mine was both on terms of long term and short term both. So it was on day wise also plan I had, and it was also in month wise as well.
Okay, great. I feel that would be kind of a similar plan for all of you. I mean, everyone would be having a long term and a short term plan, right?
I mean, it's not something that you will have right at the beginning, right? It is something that you would update month on month you would remember कि मेरा ये subject बाकी है,
Revisit.
ये topic बाकी है. You would update your plan. It's not something that will stay very constant throughout your entire journey.
Correct. So when we talk about this, I'm kind of reminded by a quote by William Osler, who had said that the best preparation for tomorrow is doing today's work superbly well. And of course, in a course like CA, it generally happens that our plan is not executed well, and there are spillovers of topics that we wanted to study. So how to manage such spillovers, or have you come across such situation? Because generally it happens that whenever there are spillovers, it tries to create a sort of pressure on you ki अरे यार ये आज नहीं हो पाया, something that sort of. So how do you deal with such spillovers? Do you revisit your plan, make it again?
No, probably just I said ki, how you had weak plans. So basically, was not much bothered with a daily spillover, but yeah, there were like it should not be much of a spillover from the day which you have planned. Ideally, because probably as Shruti rightly pointed out, ki not every day is going to be the same. Probably there are going to be good days, there are going to be some average days, probably. So that balancing, I was doing at a weekly basis to ensure that weekly these are the topics which I needed to get it covered, and probably that works in a favor because I know a daily plan becomes very rigid at times. Probably, control yourself. So, and also second thing is probably here everyone would agree that some day or the other we would not focus on number of hours, but we would focus on what our daily targets is. So, some days, probably it will get early. So what I would do is, in case my targets are getting aligned very early for the day, I would start with the work of the next day. And one thing that I would do, because to balance out, because tomorrow might not be exactly the same. I might need more time. So probably that. And the final thing is, before every day I hit the bed, I know what I was going to study the next day to ensure that I'm not wasting my time just preparing for what I'm going to study the next day. I'm just sitting at the table. I knew what I was going to do the very next day. So that is just going to give you clarity in terms of what you want to do.
Great. So if we have to talk about the study material that you would have referred during the course of preparation, so what all were it? Definitely institute materials, and apart from this, were there any other reference books or online videos that you used to watch?
So predominantly, I think I had focused on the study material, especially for all theory subjects like audit, law, IT, etc. So all of these theory subjects, I mainly focus on the study material because that's more than enough. It's very difficult to cover that because you may be able to study the same, but you'll have to keep revising the same way. Then you'll be able to replicate in the examination. So for theory subjects, I think the study material was sufficient. For practical subjects like let's say FR or SFM and like that, for those I think the questions in the study material were good, but also you could refer to the RTPs, MTPs, etc., as well as your classes material. So for that, for subjects like FR, SFM, I had referred to the classes material, which was mainly a combination of all the MTPs, RTPs, past papers, etc., and along with that, the study material as well. So the study material was kept as a base in all of the cases. So, like for example, study material had to be done at least very well. Only then should then go to RTP, MTP. The study material should be kept as a base. About the video lectures, there were Kalpesh said, there were days when you don't really feel like studying, which should be very rare. But there could be days where you're actually not there were days when you're so low that you don't really want to study, but you still have to meet the target. So for those days, I would actually sit and see the revision lecture. So let's say I've kept a subject of let's say DT that I have to revise some topic of DT, and I could for some reason I could not study that. So what then I would do for that I would see the revision lecture. So in that also when you see the revision lecture, so you are able to retain let's say it is 70 to 80% of the concept. So rather than not studying anything, I would then prefer to study from the revision lectures, revision videos that are available in YouTube.
Okay, great. What about Akshay?
Yeah, makes sense what Shruti said about keeping your study material as a base, and from the next attempt onwards you'll have MCQs in every subject and not just the theory subjects. And MCQs are something that can be asked from any corner of the material. Maybe the material that you are using may have skipped a concept or two, just to keep it concise, just to keep it brief. This is a concept that has never been tested before. For whatever reason, your other reference materials could have skipped a concept, right? So just keep the study material as base. I get that the language is a little bit difficult, right? But even when using, reference book, try and supplement those reference books with whatever the study material has additionally.
Okay. Just adding on to what we are discussing right now, keeping study material as the base. Just wanted to understand, how do you basically combine the subjects? So do you take one at a time, or how do you strategize while is it one practical, one theory? How was the strategy around that?
So for subjects like DT, IDT, right, these will have a lot of
Right.
amendments. So you take them up in the end, right, right before right before your preparation leaves, so that you are able to cover a lot of the amendments, and any new amendments that come in post your study leaves, that is only something that you will have to take up. For subjects that more or less stagnant, such as costing, FR, there are not a lot of amendments in these, so you can pick these up probably first. And the other thing that you could pick up first is any subject that you have a little bit of fear about, your seniors may have scared you about the subject, stuff like that. You could probably start revising them soon enough, be prepared about them more, right? So,
Great. What about Kalpesh? Your take?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much very standard formula across CA final. They keep the subjects as amendment at the later, start with FR, SFM, and all those subjects. Somewhere also, I personally feel that for theory subjects, you can start reading them by your own simultaneously. For example, for costing and audit, I started reading before I went into exam days, because somewhere I felt for theory subject, even in intermediate, watching classes or attending classes was not making such a value addition for me, because at the end of the day, theory requires a lot of energy from your side, and I felt
Right.
why not try it in the final. So for audit and costing, I started reading by my own to understand at least the depth of the subject even before going to my exam. Let's understand what this subject is about, what does it contain. So pretty much in that pattern it flew, FR, SFM. Then I started with probably self study with law, audit, costing. Then went on to DT, IDT. So that is the flow of the subjects.
Okay, great. What about Shruti?
So like that is pretty much what Kalpesh said. And for me, I think this could be varying from person to person. Now for me, I like practical subjects like FRSFM, and the theory subjects like audit and law. I don't like that much. So if you say like go ahead and study like for the entire 12 hours audit, no, that would be a very depressing day for me. So what I did was I knew this right from the very beginning. So during the article shift time itself, now, doing article shift, you generally get to me like 2 to 3 hours every day to study. So during those weekdays, I would actually study theory because 2 to 3 hours I can still study and not the entire day. So during the weekdays, I would study 2 to 3 hours. I would study some theory subject. So like for the very first year itself, and I agree with what Kalpesh said that lectures don't help that much for theory. You actually have to pick it up and actually start reading it. So from the very first year, I had picked up law, and along with that, I was doing a practical subject which I would do on weekends. So that is one thing I would do, a combination of theory and practical, because I know that I cannot do, like I cannot leave it for the study leave. And second is I would see, so there was like I was a morning person. So because after you sleep and you get up, you're like really re-energized. So that is when I would take the subject which I don't like the most. That is like the audit, law, etc., which is a full theory. So that I would take up first in the morning. Then eventually at the night, when you are low on energy, I would take up a practical subject. So I'll say plan your day in such a way that when you're most productive, take the subject that you find most difficult, and when you're comparatively less productive, you can take a subject which you find easier. So that's how I would pair my subjects.
Okay, great. And Sanskruti?
I think, yeah, the same strategy. So we were studying the same subject. So it was exactly the same, like what Shruti said.
Okay, okay. So a very light question. I mean, whether Sanskruti and Shruti, you both take up the same subject at the same time, or like
We
you
take the
do it
same
individually.
chapter at the same time. The same
Oh,
chapter.
so it goes hand in hand for both of you.
Hand in hand, like since the very beginning.
Okay, okay. So, do you guys do writing practice? I mean, definitely practical, you solve the sums. And what about theory? Do you write it and practice? So
So I think
definitely, yeah.
there are two
Yeah, yeah.
types of learners for theory, I feel. One is like people who speak and by reading more and can learn that thing. And one I think is people who write and can learn. So I was more of the
Okay.
person who speaks. So in terms of that, how we learn it. So I think it would be by speaking. I think that was one good tip that I got, because audit and law, after a point of time, could get very boring. Like if you have to study it for a day, it could get very boring and very monotonous in terms of you fall asleep. Like you take it up and in an hour you fall asleep. So I think one thing that was told by my seniors, which really worked well for me, was I would walk. I would not sit and study with the book. I would walk and I would actually say it aloud. And like I would be like
Okay.
I'm explaining it to somebody. So behave like you're explaining to somebody. I think that would make it like you not fall asleep. Also, And because explaining it to somebody will actually be able to retain it well as well. Then that I would actually lock myself in the room and I would act as if I'm actually explaining it to somebody, like explaining to my own self as to what's the concept, what's the logic, what's the language. And I would like, keep reading that. That is one thing that would work for, theory subjects. I would not fall asleep and it would get a little more interesting. And yeah,
Okay.
that's what
Great. So, okay, fine. We spoke about, how do you do the theory subject. So if I have to ask, Kalpesh, probably you can take this up. How do you strategize writing the theory papers? There are a lot of students who generally ask for practical. It is straight, you do the steps, you get the answer. But how do you write a theory paper? So what are the points
Yeah,
that you generally keep in mind?
So, I mean, that's a very, very common concern, I feel. There are two types of theory paper it's out, one which involves provision, law, and one which is core theory like audit and costing, which does not have to do anything with the fundamental laws, or which does not have to do with anything which is, there is a provisions behind it. So for a subject like say DT, IDT, where there's a theory involved, and for corporate law, the best way to first do it would, to first quote up the provision at the front level, see, as per the provisions of this act, this is what is the act saying. I mean, you can quote it in your own words, have those legal words with you while you're quoting up the answers, right? So, first up, straight away quote the provision. The second would be, to link the provision with the given case. You just pick up that one line of the case or one line of the question, that is required to be analyzed, and, link it with the above provision which you've stated. Finally, draw your conclusion, highlight the conclusion, because somewhere I feel that the examiner first looks at the conclusion and then reads up your entire answer. That has been, I've seen answer sheet. So I think that's a very 3-step process. Give the provision, link it, and, give your conclusion. Now, for the core theory subjects like audit and costing, the probable idea would be to present it in a bullet points or present it in a very small paragraph points, to ensure it is a simple game. Basically, the examiner cannot read big paragraph. You have to make it easy for them. So the accessibility in terms of reading for the examiner plays a very big role. So you have to write down the points. Probably if a question has say 5 points, break it down into separate points. Underline the keywords, or at least make them easy for them to highlight the keywords. So that would be a very simple approach to approach the practical paper. So probably what you can do is, before giving exams, while you are giving mock itself, you can understand how is that. There are some situation based questions. So if there is a situation based question asking you to find whether it's guilty or not, what is the consequences, please underline the consequences or the end result of the question, so that again that highlights probably there you have to find ways to make the examiner or the invigilator feel convenient about your approach towards it. It has to be very easy for him to read. Something which I would really tell him.
Great. Anything Akshay wants to add in this?
I mean, pretty much it. But on the bulleting part, don't really bullet your answers if the actual answer or provision or whatever was not broken down into bullet. Let's say if it's an ethics related question and you want to analyze, right, whether an ethic, whether the chartered accountant in question was guilty or not. So I would probably not bullet it. I would probably break it down into paragraphs, right? But I would not bullet it unless there are, actual 3-4 pointers, steps, etc. that you are supposed to follow. Only then would I go ahead and bullet it.
Okay. And any kind of highlight that you do, marking the important provisions
If
that
you
are
have the time, sure. If you have the time.
I do agree.
You can underline words, but keep
Great.
all of that for the end. Just focus on completing the papers first, because for law final papers, I remember I was not able to complete the entire paper, let alone highlight things.
So now coming to a very important aspect, that is revision. Okay, so like all of you spoke about importance of revision, and you need to have 2 or 3 times of reading. So how did you strategize the revision? I mean, how many times did you revise the subject? Did you kind of add any sticky notes or handwritten notes that you used to make a 1-pager? That generally everyone does. So probably if you can just share your thoughts on this.
For revisions, right from intermediate, it's sort of a practice that got inbuilt from my coaching classes. For preparations, we had like 7 days to prepare for a subject. This is going into a study leaves, 10-15 days going into your study leaves. You have 7 days for each subject. you prepare for that subject, and then at the end of the 7th day, you write a test. And you move on to your next revision, which would be like half of the first revision. So 3-4 days, depending on the subject, right? This is what I also followed in my final exams. So 7 days a
Okay.
subject, and then write a test, and then the next revision is 3-4 days. And depending on the study leave that you have, you could probably keep on doing this, or maybe increase the number of days for your revisions. For your first revision could be 10 days if somebody has 6 months of study leaves, right? So things like that. So your second revision should not be more than 50-60% of the time that you gave to your first revision, and then it goes on in a geometric progression.
Okay. Yeah, Kalpesh.
Yeah, see, for me, revision, again, you have to break it down into two, practical and theory. For me, somewhere I felt, if it's a, it's a very simple analogy. If you're chasing a, say, 240 target at a 20 over, you have to go from the ball one. I had a very limited time. I knew I could do only 3 revisions, 3 readings. So basically, the idea, I broke it down in the very first day itself. When it comes to revision, for theory subject and practical subject, for practical, you have to start marking those questions, which you will be doing in the next revision. In terms of their difficulty, in terms of their adjustments which they carry, and strike down the very basic, simple question which you feel, you can clear it off. You need not do it again and again. So, first you have to funnel down the number of questions with each revision you do, because at the end of the day, you will not have the entire time to do the 100% of questions you're doing in the very first reading. So that it becomes very important. You need to keep a register of the questions or the concept which you need to again reiterate in the subsequent revision. Number two, for theory subjects, I'm not a big follower, or I am not a person who practices writing notes and stuff. What I do is I just start highlighting, I just start marking, and I just make small keywords, mnemonics in the textbook itself where I'm reading. So I feel, so wherever I feel, this paragraph is irrelevant, I just put a bracket and a close bracket, and I just strike it down so that I need not read it for the next time. So I make keywords, or highlight the keywords, start making notes in the textbook itself. So that is where I approach my theory subject as far as that is concerned.
Okay. So probably, I guess, Sanskruti, it is more or less the same way that you used to follow.
Correct.
Okay. Just to add on, so we spoke about the revision part. If I have to ask how do you prepare yourself for the 1.5 days before the exam? Because you have now studied, you have revised. That 1.5 days, the half day after the exam and the 1 day holiday becomes the most important day. Correct. So how do you revise the entire subject within that limited span of time?
So probably say 1 or 2 months before the exam, I think you would have got the hang of all of the subjects. So you would have probably done your first reading, probably into your first revision now. So you know exactly which what are subjects you have in the picture, which subjects are difficult, and exactly what is it that you can cover in that 1.5 days. So I think one thing is you will have to establish that you will not be able to cover everything. That goes without saying. You do everything, you put your everything into it, not be able to cover 100% of it. So one thing is realizing what is it that you want to cover. So it could be like either you go 2 ways. One, you follow that ABC strategy into what is more important. You try
Okay.
doing that, giving that weightage. Or second could be in terms of personally what I find difficult. So there may be some things which are important, but I think with my multiple revisions out there, I think I've got a hang of it. So if I just say allocate 1 hour of it, I could be able to manage those questions well, even though they are category A. But the difficult ones maybe which may not be category A but category B, but I find them very difficult and something that you have to see in that 1.5 day. Like in case of taxes, you have a lot of numbers and numerical stuffs, the limits, etc., the number base. So that is something that you have to see in that 1.5 days, because that is something that you can just learn and then reproduce in the examination. So I think there's some specific things that I knew, and this is something I had to see in that 1.5 day. Only then will I be able to retain them. And some concepts like I had followed same Kalpesh, like he said, the elimination method in terms of both theory and this. Like you at some point of time in practical, that this sum is something that you've understood the concept. There's no need to do the sum all over again in the next reading. So you can eliminate that. Whatever that you've learned from that particular sum, you can just write it down in your theory notes as well. So that in your 1.5 you can just read on that the main concept over there. You do not have to solve that sum again. Or in case of your sums, you highlight the difficult adjustment. So you don't have to do the entire sum again. Just do that adjustment that you found tricky and this. I think using these methods, you can actually shorten the time. But I'll still, especially for CA final, say doing all of this also, you'll not still be able to cover 100%. So you have to actually, understand that what is it that you want to cover and you have to cover. And that depends on
Prioritize.
what are your strengths and weaknesses and for that particular subject. Correct.
Okay, great.
Also,
So
you
Shruti,
actually
what?
don't think about preparing for the 1.5 days right from the first day of your study leave, right? What you are doing is you're preparing for the next revision. So if your first revision is like 7-8 days, what you're doing is you're preparing for you to cover the entire syllabus in the 3-4 days, which would be your next revision. And then it goes on down from there. So when you are doing your last revision before the exams, which could be 2 to 3 days, from 2 to 3 days, you're supposed to bring it down to a day and a half, which is very easy versus, starting to think about 1.5 days right from the first week itself.
Okay, great. So if I have to bring it even further down, so we have spoken about the preparation, the revision, the 1.5 days. Now comes the question, the important 3 hours. So how do you keep your mind cool? And those 3 hours are the most important time that you are tested. So how do you manage that 3 hours? So it might sound a very simple question, but it's equally very important to manage your answers as well as keeping the cool. So what's your take on this subject?
First and foremost thing is using the 15 minutes that you are given to read the paper really well for you to identify which question is something that you are not going to touch, not going to think about in the next 3 hours, right? So try and get a glimpse of everything that is there in the question paper for you to identify what is something that is not to be done in this question paper. And then I would move on to MCQs, give like 30-40 minutes to MCQs, collect 15, 20, 25 marks, whatever I can, and then move on to the practical part of things because now you have 2.5 hours left for the 70 marks of the paper. And allocate your time in that, take out 10 minutes from the end for, checking everything, whether everything is in line. And, 5-10 more minutes for you to cover any balance MCQs that you have remaining from the 30, after the 30 minutes that you were left with, right? So this is how I would follow it and realize that if something is new for you, if something seems tricky to you, it would seem tricky to a lot of other people too. You're not there to get the entire marks of the question. You are to just apply the concept that you know of and get like 50-60% of the marks if you can.
Great. So Kalpesh, just one question. No, other than studies, we have spoken about studies, the preparation. How was the daily routine?
Before that, I would
like?
just like to add on to that last
Yeah,
previous
yes,
question.
please.
The one thing which I found very helpful for myself is the 3 hours starts prelude before you even sit for the exams. Whenever I used to write my mocks, I used to set a timer of 2 hours and 45 minutes. I never used to set a timer for 3 hours because I know when I'm setting for 2 hours 45 minutes, I'll end up 3 hours. So that is something I used to do. And also while you're writing the exams, there were few papers it would look dauntingly difficult while seeing the question itself. But the idea is to cherry pick the 2 or 3 questions, or even one first question that for you it's very manageable. At least out of the 15 or the 20 marks, you're able to score at least 80% of the marks. So what that does is that sets the momentum right up front, and then it gives you the confidence. Okay, 10-15 mark is question se aa gaye. Next question is another 8, so 25-30 marks there. So that you're at least very relaxed by the end. You reach your 4th or 5th question, you're like, okay, I've done pretty much to at least get 40. So that is how I think you have to pick up the question. So you have to be very calm in terms of reading the questions also. You will definitely find 1 or 2 questions that are, pretty straightforward, even in a very difficult paper.
Great. Anything that Shruti or Sanskruti wants to add in this?
There's one thing that I would want to add is like this is what a professor had said, and this is something I'd followed. Is this is a little weird, but this is something in case of it's a very tough paper, like it's an out of box paper, like IFR paper is a little out of box in terms of very new questions. Is that like just accept this fact that start from 0. Don't think about 40, don't think about 50, don't think about 60. Start from 0. Think accept the fact that okay, now 0, you are starting from 0. And just like what he Kalpesh said, try to find a easy sum, start and keep going. Maybe okay, this sum, okay, I just saw that sum. You just take it like okay, accept the fact that you're going to get 0, and now start. Now without any pressure, without any now okay, you have to get that 40. Just start. Just keep writing whatever that you know. Keep start. I think it works. The start with the stuff that you know best, and then keep adding. Okay, this go to 4. Okay, this go to 5 marks. Okay, this go to 6. I think that confidence builds up. So sometimes the stress that okay, in case of FR paper, I'd worked a lot for that FR paper, and I'd expected like okay, this paper is something that I can get 60 to offset the audit paper, which is usually very tough. So maybe that will have 40. And this is what was my initial plan. And I done literally everything for FR. Like I not left any chapters. I did all the RTPs, entries, everything. And then when I saw the paper, it was so out of box. Something which is like very different. Some is very and very tricky in terms of a lot of assumptions out there. I think the only thing that I kept in mind was, okay, I did everything right. So now it's just to give whatever I know best. So I think that pressure, like, okay, now this is the paper. Okay, assume, accept this fact. Okay, then we are not getting any marks for this, and start writing with whatever you know. So I think that sort of reduces the stress which is there a lot in case of very out of box papers. And second thing is, one thing I had a case similar to Akshay because I got a rank in inter also. So obviously when you were going for a final paper, the pressure is a lot in terms of expectations and etc. So one thing that my dad said is कि या तो tension मत ले, जितना तुझे आता है ना बस examiner को उतना बता के आ. So I think that is something I always if I would feel a lot of stress, I would say like okay बस जितना मुझे आता है बस
Great.
उतना examiner को बताना, ठीक है मैं कर सकते.
Chalo, nice. So Kalpesh, so apart from studies, how was your daily routine? Like you used to hit the gym, follow a diet, or sleep pattern, watch some motivational videos.
So I mean, gym during exams, no. Post exams, yes, I did it, but gym was something that's out of equation. But yes, I used to go for a walk every single day,
Okay.
at least to clear off the air. Something which I used to do. I don't know if that is recommendatory for all of the people. I was on social media, and in fact, I was on Instagram till February because my exams were in March, May 23. I was on Instagram, but then I somewhere felt people are enjoying, so I just closed Instagram. But I was on Twitter. I used to scroll Twitter every single day because I felt somewhere I did not want to get entirely disconnected of the world as well. And as I rightly said, I really love cricket. So I used to watch cricket. I still remember I was in fact watching IPL when used to the break I used to get. So because when I was doing my practical questions, I used to just keep my mobile at the side, just listen to what those matches happening. So I used to watch cricket also. And some days I used to even play cricket in between, on the odd weeks, where I used to play cricket. So this is something I used to. I used to listen music as well.
Great.
But it's completely personal to me. I would not
Understood.
recommend people to be on Instagram or social media. Something which works for me. I was able to control myself.
Okay. So that's what I was about to come to, the social media part, because generally while doing this, generally you become doing this, scrolling the reels and shorts.
Yeah.
So, it is really very difficult to keep a control on social media. So, what's Sanskruti or Shruti's view on social media? Were you active? Did you uninstall it? Or, did you install some app to track the usage?
So in my case, Instagram was something that I came after my exams, but I was active on YouTube and all of the other social media. YouTube was the
Oh.
main problem for me because in terms of shorts, but then I had this thing, I had an app that you would keep, that focus app that you have, focus mode, that once you are
Great.
on that, you would do not get any notification. In terms of, I would realize this. Okay, for example, if I'm allocating 30 minutes, and after 30 minutes, if I'm not stopping it, I realize it, like after, say 10, 15 days that I'm not stopping it, it's stretching to 45 minutes, it's stretching to 1 hour. Then I would uninstall that app. Like I think I was on and off on YouTube. I think there were 2-3 months I was off on YouTube, and then I installed it again because there was actually need a lot of revision videos, etc., which are really good on YouTube. So then I install it again. But then I think I had control that whenever I felt like, okay, now this is
Right.
getting out of hand, and I think I believe that if you are controlling social media, it's absolutely okay, you can use it. But the day the social media is controlling you, that is to say, if you are looking in 30 minutes and it is going beyond that, you're not able to, cut it off. I think that is when they are controlling, that's the time to uninstall or disable that. So I think I had that on and off with that YouTube out there.
Akshay wants to add anything to this?
Not really. I was also on Instagram up until like March, but then I kept opening the phone a lot. So I probably quit it. And with respect to, I always had my eyes on the clock, right, top right corner of your
Correct.
phone. So I was more or less aware where the time is going if I pick up a phone. So I tend to be very time bound, and yeah, not a lot of problem for me with respect to that.
Okay.
There's something
So
I would
yeah.
also add on to
Yeah.
here is I think the social media is right now play on your attention span. So what I did, I understood notification was the one that was driving me towards that. I kept my phone on DND. Even though mobile data or Wi-Fi was on, no notifications would pop in. So basically, it means that I had to actively take an effort to go inside that. So it would be difficult for a day or two. But once you don't see notification, there's no motivation or probably there's no leverage for you to go inside that. So that is an active way of not letting you go, because notification is a very easy bait for you to get inside. And as rightly Sanskruti said, I used to dedicate a time for that. Probably Twitter was around 10 to 10:30. At the end of the day, I used to see all the content and all the stuff. Very minimal usage during the course of when I was reading, probably. So something which you can take control of.
Like you all said, we need to be very cautious while using it, keeping control over the time.
Yeah, if you are somebody
Okay.
who cannot be cautious, it's very great to just be aware. There's no
Yeah,
harm
Correct.
in
Like
that.
agreed.
yeah, right. Like Sanskruti said, rather than we taking control over it, if it social media takes a control, then that's a not right situation. So Sanskruti, I mean, I would request everyone, each one of you, to just take few minutes and let us know, what is that success mantra, or rather the point to get a rank, or your piece of advice that you would like to give to all the candidates, and what according to you is a role of CA for the nation at large. Yeah, probably Sanskruti or Shruti can.
Something that worked, I'd say one mantra that I had was to give my best. I think from the beginning itself is to give your best in terms of whatever you can. And, try to test your abilities. Okay, if you think you can do 10 hours, kal 10 half hour karo. Then next day, try 10 or 45 minutes. I think, give your best. At least you do not have any regrets, irrespective of the result. I think giving your best was one thing that I've always kept in my mind, that do whatever it is, just give your best to it, do your best of your potential. At least you should be satisfied with your,
Right.
your preparation. So that is one. And second, I think the role that CA plays, I think that is that actually a financial doctor, like it's rightly said. That's what I would say.
Shruti?
So basically, the role that the CA plays. So I think I can remember this dialogue from Half CA where they said that we don't just run the economy, we are the economy. And the success month, I'll say, like we mentioned, start early, ensure revisions, because like there's, even for me, it wasn't like the moment I started studying, like the one time I studied all it, I can remember everything. That's not the case. I have to revise. So start early so that you can have adequate time for revision. Ensure consistency. And fourth, I think believe in yourself also. So have that confidence. So what I would do this right before I have to start the paper, I would say, like, if there's a question that comes in which is new, or if I don't get it, no one in this class will get it, because I have practiced so much. So I think have that confidence when you're writing the paper. It may not be true, but have that confidence. So especially for costing, etc. If you see, there are tends to be sums which are new in the paper. So I think I would say that's what I tell myself. You will get the sum. You know all the concepts. You know everything. So you will get the same. So I think self belief is also important. That's it.
Great. What about Kalpesh? We also have a question that says, what is that single important thought that you kept every moment while studying? So probably you can
So I
answer
think
that as well.
pretty much I think that question is also getting correlated. I think I would just reiterate and probably expand the answer or the word which Shruti said. Have positiveness. Probably for someone, when I see myself, people come up to me, or probably I did not have a rank at any of the previous levels, so the rank was out of equation. But somewhere I felt, probably let's aim करने में क्या जाता है. So I just wrote one random day AR1 करके लिखा है. So I just stuck it on my writing board. I just kept every single day. It was like working. The minute you start approaching, so one day what I did was I just created a mock mark sheet of myself. So to mentally put in an imprint that this is something below which you cannot get at all. So my mind is always, "Acha, am I doing enough to get these marks at least?" It was mentally preparing me. And I feel you need to be absolutely positive about yourself, because there will be words, there will be air around you. People will say, it's difficult, YouTube, social media will create a hell of noise, this is happening, that is happening, invigilation or examinations are not conducted properly, this and that. But at the end of the day, right, it's about having belief in you, because though probably I was not 100% about myself before exams, when I look at the hindsight, I feel, be completely positive about yourself, start manifesting things in a very right direction. That will really help you achieve that. Because for me, I felt, because I felt, coming from a place, where I could achieve it. I think it's very easy for a lot of people to achieve it. Rank is something not extraordinary, I feel, takes the equal amount of effort, and how you put that effort is something what she said, is being consistent. If you're a person who is not able to put 14 hours a day, it's like even 8 to 10 hours every single day is okay. It's not like one day you study for 14 and the next day you study at 4, because why consistency is important is to understand what is your rhythm, and to understand, at what time of the day you are very much active, where you're able to put your 100% of your energy. I think that becomes a very pivotal part. So I would just say, to the people who are giving their exams, be bloody consistent in whatever you're trying to do. Every day, if you feel like you're going to cheat on yourself, it's like, you're just pushing yourself to the next attempt, is what I would try to say. And second thing is, please have a great amount of energy and confidence. Every day is not going to be the same. And one thing that really kept me going was, when I used to study, my entire room was covered with books, 100 books around me. I was like, I'm not going to read this book in the next 6 months again. I want to come out of this room as soon as possible, just give off this book. So I think that is one thing that really kept me going. Second thing, my parents, they aligned their schedule according to me, every single day. So seeing them, I mean, so we are Marwari family basically, har cheez is thoda, everything is, comes a little extra, even, while doing them. They aligned the schedule according to me. In fact, there was days they used to call me on landline so that I'm not getting disturbed by the notifications of the phone. So, to see that effort, I always thought, what is this a way for me to pay back the people who have been around me, my friends, my
Nice.
family. So, just giving them back. So that is something I would really say out of the people. And as far as the future
Great.
of CA is concerned, I think something I would say, life after CA becomes a little more easy, because you know that you need not study all these things. And believe me, I've met wonderful people after CA. Great amount of network you get, because now you're getting recognized as a brand you carry with yourself, and obviously great experience lies there. The role of CA is obviously when CAs are definitely, getting challenged at multiple fronts. So I would say CA is not the end. In fact, it's the beginning, because, with AI, with a lot of disruption happening across technology, we need to, I mean, it's a sad thing, but you need to start
Yeah.
learning again once you become CA, and the journey is going to just continue. But you will definitely get a great amount of recognition and respect. Is something which I can guarantee you, and you will meet a wonderful network of people and have great experience.
Great. Learning is a continuous process.
Yeah.
So, Akshay, your piece of advice, guidance.
Sorry, just got a call. What is the question that we are talking about?
So we're discussing about, the success mantra from you guys, and any piece of advice that you would like to give it to the candidates, and what according to you is the role of CA for the nation at large.
Right, success mantra is something that I think at it differently. Would be just studying consistently, having a very aspirational mindset right from the very beginning, a very high level of confidence, in doing whatever you do. And something that's just specific to CA is writing a lot of mock exams, right? It helps you accustom yourself to the test environment a lot. There are a lot of learnings, the kind of mistakes that you make in mocks. There is a good chance that you will not be making those mistakes in your exams, right? So things like that, very little things, but when you speak to a lot of people, you come to know that a lot of people don't follow these things. So which probably gives you an edge over other candidates. And in terms of the other part of the question, right? What I think of a role of a CA in nation building, right? So I am not really very keen about the sort of compliance aspect, right? That we do. But what I am very fond of, what I think, gives CAs an extreme push, over other professions, is their ability to think and link a lot of concepts, right? But because we are not just thinking in terms of just how the business will grow, but we are also thinking in terms of like how a particular tax would impact this business growth, what particular channel should you go through, what kind of taxes would you get if you go through an online selling route versus building brick and mortar stores. So a lot of aspects combined. It's a very multidisciplinary level of thinking that is needed when you help build businesses, and that is where I think we excel.
Great. So I was also scrolling through the questions. I guess we have covered it
Yeah,
in
so
our
just to
session.
add on to what Akshay
Yeah.
said, he said we bring a lot of competencies on the table, but right now I feel that's something which gives a definite edge. But somewhere we need to really improve on how to market ourselves and how to sell ourselves. We have all this ability. We are the most capable in terms of we have a lot of adaptability. Articles, we have worked for hours and hours. We know how to work hard, but we need to be more smart in terms of selling ourselves, defining that this is what we can bring onto the table. A lot of people are not able to do that. So all people who are watching this out there, learn to how to showcase yourself, present yourself as something, that is going to distinguish yourselves from the larger cohort. Today we need to improve our branding in terms of who we are, because everyone knows CAs are brilliant, but how brilliant, to what extent I can project it is something which is we need to learn ourselves as a part of this journey.
Great, super. I personally had a great time discussing with all four of you. So thank you so much, Akshay, Kalpesh, Sanskruti, and Shruti, for such an insightful and informative session. We have time's up, and I'm very sure that it was definitely a very it was a great guidance to all the aspiring chartered accountants attending this session. It was pleasure talking to you guys, and wish you all the best. I also take this opportunity and convey my best wishes to all the students attending this session. Hope you all had a great time. All the best.